Good morning, good afternoon to Munich Siebener Street and to Pep Guardiola and his boys. Bayern Munich played on Saturday in Bremen, and now the next game takes place. Gladbach, not only a clash of two of the biggest and most traditional clubs in Germany, but also a clash between two of the currently strongest teams. Here in Munich of Pep Guardiola and the man on the left, Hermann Gerland, are a little higher. Bayern Munich 11 points clear at the top of the Bundesliga table. Bastian Schweinsteiger commented on the current situation, saying, and Schweinsteiger, as you can see, is here in training, as are most other players. We'll talk about who's here and who isn't here in a little more detail as we go along. But Schweinsteiger commented on the table situation, saying it is positive, it's good, it's a reassuring, comfortable situation to be 11 points ahead of the top with only 9 remaining games. However, Wolfsburg, who are table second and also clearly ahead of the table third team, Wolfsburg is a team that can win 9 or 10 matches in succession, and therefore there's no reason whatsoever for Bayern Munich to relax, to step down in any way. Another good reason for the Bayern players to stay motivated, focused and on point is the upcoming schedule, and also the experience that Pep Guardiola and his team made in the past. Last season, Bayern Munich won the championship prematurely and experienced a drop in performance after that. Similar situation might occur this year, although the championship, that much can, I think, already be predicted with some confidence, won't be won by Bayern Munich as early as last season. But there's a really tough schedule coming up, not immediately. Again, Bayern Munich now have a week, even a long week, 8 days to prepare for the Mönchengladbach game, or they had 8 days. And then there's a 2-week break for European Championship qualifiers, and after that it's going to be a very, very busy schedule indeed for Bayern Munich, starting of course with a really tough away game, maybe the toughest away game possible in Dortmund on April 4th. Here's Thiago on your screen, and that's possibly the best news, despite all the positive results that Bayern Munich have enjoyed in the last couple of weeks. The return of Thiago and the return of captain Philipp Lahm to team training, and in the case of Philipp Lahm, even to the pitch. Those were the best news for the Bayern fans. Thiago seems to be fairly close to the team again, fairly close to full team training. He can't participate in all exercises yet. Philipp Lahm, on the other hand, already took place on the bench against Shakhtar Donetsk on Wednesday evening, and even played a couple of minutes in Bremen on Saturday, although he said himself he has his teammates to thank for. He doesn't believe he would have been fielded had Bayern Munich's lead not been that clear. But Thiago and Lahm are in a similar situation, in the sense that now there's a full week of training, then there's 2 weeks of training at this national team break where both players can work individually, can work on improving their fitness, regaining their full strength and health with no distraction. The coaches will have time. There won't really be full team training for 2 weeks, of course, with so many Bayern players missing. And so Pep Guardiola is hopeful that Philipp Lahm will be able to play regular football, 90-minute football games after that European Championship qualification break, with the first game taking place again on April 4th in Dortmund. Thiago, we'll see if that Dortmund game might not be a little too early for the Spaniard, but here in Munich everyone is hopeful that both of these players will be able to return sooner than later. There's a few players missing from this training group. some injured players missing. Javi Martinez, of course, is unable to train. Franck Ribéry has been battling injury. Ribéry, of course, missing from Saturday's away game in Bremen. Arjen Robben was unable to participate in that game. Xabi Alonso was banned. Manuel Neuer was arrested. But at least in the case of Arjen Robben, it does seem as if he will be able to rejoin the squad very soon indeed. Robben trained earlier today. About an hour ago we recorded these pictures, and it's no unusual scene here to have Robben train individually. He does that quite a bit, and if you look at his movements here, you'll see Robben does seem to be fit and healthy again. We all know the prior medical history of Arjen Robben, which is why he himself and the Bayern coaches tend to be a little careful not to overdo it in training. But again, Robben out on the pitch about an hour ago, so we expect, and don't quote me here, but we do expect that Robben will be able to at least join the squad for Sunday's game against Borussia Mönchengladbach at home, 5:30 on Sunday in the, of course, sold out Allianz Arena. There's a few hundred fans here at Munich Siebener Street at the training facilities watching in. It's that kind of weather, that kind of temperature condition. There's been a lot of rain, there's been snow, so it's a particularly tough time for the greenkeepers right now to keep the pitches in mint condition. This pitch here is in near perfect condition. There's a few holes and a few brown patches on the other main training pitch, so a lot of work being conducted there. Here is what is now called the Rondo at Bayern Munich. The Spanish term is used now. Maybe pay attention in particular to Philipp Lahm on the far right. Let's see how he does in this exercise. I can imagine. As always, when we conduct these live training sessions and when we show them live on FCB TV, you can feel free to ask any questions you might. That's why Thiago isn't quite yet integrated in the full sessions. That Ribéry will be able to play against Mönchengladbach. But we'll have to wait for the next couple of days to see if he can actually join in. Javi Martinez is now, I think, probably the only player with a long-term injury and with a good reaction of his body. Maybe we'll see a few more competitive matches of As possession. That means that Schweinsteiger and Lahm are part of the team red, and the other way around if it's team blue, of course. And as far training sessions. Pep Guardiola simulates what the Bayern players can expect in training and leaves nothing to chance, which is why Leverkusen, that is apparently the plan for the rest of the day. Leverkusen is Bayern Munich's DFB Cup quarter-final opponent in a couple of weeks' time, 8th of April, an away game for Bayern Munich. It's a very interesting DFB Cup quarter-final with really only top teams remaining, with the exception of Arminia Bielefeld. They're the only underdogs that made it into the quarter-final of this year's competition. A duel between two potential future opponents in the Champions League. The draw, as you probably know, for the Champions League quarter-final takes place on Friday. We have the confirmation now, by the way, of what's going on with Sebastian Rode. He has some minor difficulties, some minor problems with his foot. Just a little kick or a step onto his foot on the weekend game. Nothing serious. He is also conducting individual training, but should be able to rejoin team training in the next few days. Again, purely a precautionary measure by Pep Guardiola and his coaching staff. We have a couple more questions coming in. A few users who are obviously from Australia that I'd like to welcome here ask why does Bayern, or if Bayern Munich is coming to Australia in the pre-season. I obviously can't guarantee that or confirm anything to the negative. This summer Bayern is planning a brief tour of China, I assume a week or so. That has been made official in recent weeks, so I don't expect Australia is on the cards for this pre-season, but hope springs eternal. Maybe the Australian fan clubs should get into touch with the Bayern officials and representatives and pressure them a little more. Once a year, usually, Bayern Munich go on things that can't really be said of a trip to Australia. That's why these things won't happen in winter. And if Bayern Munich come to Australia, it would be a summer trip. Last summer, Bayern Munich were in the US for a little tour, a couple of test games there. Again, next summer it'll be China. Who knows what the future brings. Other users have asked us why we don't do these training sessions more often, or why don't we just broadcast every single training session. The answer to that's simple. We can't bring you training sessions that aren't public for obvious reasons. And then second of all, we try to choose wisely when to broadcast these training sessions. When we have a month with, say, 10 competitive games, then these training sessions, if they're public, tend to be recovery sessions, sessions in which there aren't that many exercises, sessions in which the players tend to do gymnastics or athletic exercises, nothing like these passing, shooting exercises. I'm hopeful that we might even still see a bit of a competitive game here later on. So not all of the training sessions are actually fun to watch, to be quite honest. Some of these training sessions are purely hard physical work for the players, and I suppose while that's always fun to watch men sweat when you're sitting at home comfortably on the sofa, that is again not particularly interesting. It's far more interesting for the fans, I think, when we see pictures like this, when Pep Guardiola is involved, when Pep Guardiola explains some exercises that we hope will then be beneficial to the team performance on the pitch. Couple more updates. So again, further confirmation, but enough to not let him join in a full team training session. Then a couple of talents are missing from the training here today. Gianluca Gaudino, he's out. He's also battling some muscle injuries, minor muscle injuries, but should be able to rejoin in the training sessions soon. And then Sinan Kurt came out onto the pitch earlier today, but already discontinued training. He's back in the locker room, back in the gym for treatment because he felt some minor problems with his knee. Again, with a squad as big as Bayern Munich, you don't take any risks. Train football professionals. Fans expect to see the best performance, and that's what the players work for all week long, and the assistants and physical therapists do the same thing. So whenever there are any minor problems, the players usually discontinue. And again, a lot has changed in the past few years. Players who team training fully after an injury, Holger Bartschuh was a good example. He returned and he was probably fitter than most players in the squad. What injured players have to do nowadays is much harder than what the players do in team training. Philipp Lahm talked a little bit about that. Javi Martinez spoke about these things. Thiago too. It's day in, day out. Usually these injured players have a screen. In his first appearance for Bayern Munich was a friendly game, a friendly test match in the so-called Paulaner Cup. Does so well, and that is just give off this feeling that he's in total control. He had some good movement, some good vision, anticipation, great box control, or even more so great control of Bayern Munich's entire. So keep asking your questions and I'll answer the training session. Well, those are just Bayern fans who've decided to come here. On the website, you can, if you're ever in Munich, or if you can just simply come down here. It's open. There's no, there are no ticket sales or anything like that. The facilities here are, you can catch a player or two as they arrive or leave for an autograph or a chat. So that is part of Bayern Munich's philosophy to. On the verge of returning to team training. Here's a goal of the week, a material shot there by Bastian Schweinsteiger. It's Mario Götze who's missing a player for a double pass that obviously didn't work that well here in this exercise. But gets really picked up his game. A lot of fans and I dare say experts were very interested to see how Bayern Munich would do in Bremen. It was one of the very few games in the last couple of years where both Franck Ribéry and Arjen Robben were missing. Two of the creative stars. He's developed into a crossing monster. Some fantastic crosses from his right wing have been coming into the center in the last couple of weeks, and just now he is a very important player at Bayern Munich. Still a young player who has of the Bayern Pro team, and he decided the answer to that question was no. Since then, excellent training performances, and when he came on, and he came on a couple times recently, but Philipp Lahm would be Philipp Lahm if he didn't come back. Don't want to say in record time, but in good time, fit as ever. And he was, by the way, the example, and not so much by confidence or by being the loudest man on the pitch. Philipp Lahm deserves captaincy through his consistent performances and nothing else. Another user question was, do they actually shoot on goal in training? Well, you can see the answer right now as we speak. On the penalty box line and all take a shot. No. The exercises, again, that Pep Guardiola and his coaching staff favor always incorporate pretty much everything. There's a passing exercise, there's a whatever it is. Here's a typical one. Here's Juan Bernat. He first plays a pass into the center, then another teammate crosses the ball right back to him, then he takes a shot on goal. We're not going to do that this week. What we're going to do instead is we're going to bring you some player reactions as quickly as possible. There's going to be some press conferences. There'll be a news. A former Bremen player and might have actually played had he not been injured, but he's still battling muscle problems. So it seems as if we're slowly but surely reaching the end of this training session. Some of the players are leaving the pitch already. We'll stay here because some, as already predicted, I think that looks as if Ribéry can probably rejoin team training soon. If you like these live training sessions and if you want to see more, you can like this. You can press on the like button. We're always happy about good. Can't bring you as many live training sessions as we'd like to. We'd like to bring you every single live training session, but Pep Guardiola wants to keep some of his tactics street. One question was, how much do the Bayern players train? That really changes throughout the course of the season completely. This season, for instance, and of course when the schedule isn't particularly busy, the players usually, I'd say, have between 5 and 6 training sessions a week. Warm up an hour or so before training in the gym and then return to the gym to do some more muscle exercises afterwards. Others don't need that. It really depends on the physique. Around 12 sessions a week probably. Training usually lasts 1.5 hours, but again, that's here where the players can watch movies, play video games, where they have breakfast and lunch together and so on and so forth. And usually when you go there about an hour or 45 minutes before the training session starts, the gym will be full of players. They're already all there. The players have to be at the training facilities about an hour before training, but again, most are actually certainly a young man to look out for. Müller. Jumping up and down, shouting at his players on the pitch. It's no different in training. Seems to be quite pleased with himself here. Full strength with these shots. See Mitchell Weiser here for the second time running in Austria, which for those of you who aren't familiar with that country is an nearly incredible achievement. Austria is a country, unlike most in the world, where football isn't the #1 sport. Austria is a winter sports crazy. There was a funny scene in Qatar in the winter training camp when he walked along the pitch and I think it was Schweinsteiger who passed the ball outside to him and he passed it back in and Pep Guardiola ran up to him. You field now, and even more so when all these players return. Pep's mentioned many times that he can't wait for Thiago and Martinez in particular. So again, we have, it's been more than 1.5 hours now. Well, as Thomas Müller gives us and you the thumbs up. Thanks for watching this live training session. We'll bring you a live to watch live training sessions if you like the training videos that we produce of the highlight moments of a week of training. Until the next time.
Du hast den Bock, oder? Ja.